America was indeed founded as a Christian nation, if its charters, purposes, history, and civil laws can be used to define the nation. As Justice Brewer wrote in 1905, the facts of America's history and its founding are not debatable. Dr. Silverman and others claim that we have a godless constitution, or that the nation is irreligious, or that our nation's founders were deists. I'm concerned that these claims help lay the foundation for the abuse of the First Amendment, which is one of my chief concerns. The revisionist view of the separation of church and state, which is almost universal today in legal jurisprudence, impacts us, our children, and our future. Christianity teaches, and most Christians hold to, a jurisdictional separation of church and state, but not a separation of God and government. A secular or godless state is not American, not Christian, and not wise. If we continue on the same path that we have marked out in the last few decades with this flawed interpretation of the First Amendment, we will become like France in 1789 or the old USSR in 1917. Some think we have already arrived at that point. Civil government must obey God's laws, such as the Ten Commandments: thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt honor the Sabbath, thou shalt not steal, to name a few. The meaning of the First Amendment has been turned completely upside down by many of our cultural and educational institutions. Some of our opponents know this is true, but they forge ahead, driven by ideology. Often the term separation of church and state is used as a club against the people of religious faith. The First Amendment was adopted in order to chain the federal government from overreaching into the religious realm, not to control the church or to restrict the voices and votes of Christian people. The concept of the wall of separation was to keep the federal government out of the church, not to keep Christian values out of the government. Many voices from various quarters echo some of the sentiments that I have defended tonight. A recently published book, Rediscovering Christian America, is organized like a travel log around the Christian symbols in our nation's capital, on the walls and cornerstones of our national monuments, such as the Capitol building itself, the Washington Monument, the Jefferson Lincoln Memorials, and the Supreme Court building in Washington, D.C. Two examples: Pocahontas, the baptism of Pocahontas is in the Capitol Rotunda, and pilgrims at Plymouth Rock are praying as they land at Plymouth Rock. There are 4 plaques of Moses or the Ten Commandments in the Supreme Court building itself. One is in the judges' chambers. On October 21, USA Today reviewed a new book by Bruce Thieler entitled America's Prophet: Moses and the American Story. Thieler claims that Moses is America's real founding father due to the extensive references to the Ten Commandments and due to the reverence our founding fathers showed Moses. Moses is part of both the Jewish and Christian traditions. The law was, John 1:17 says, law was given by Moses, and grace and truth came by Jesus Christ. The jacket of Thieler's book quotes the Bible verse that also appears on our Liberty Bell, first rung July 8, 1776, which says, proclaim liberty throughout the land unto the inhabitants thereof. In closing, I want to refer to an often forgotten incident from American history. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, once close friends and colleagues, experienced a bitter rift in their friendship as a result of the presidential election of 1800. Adams, the traditionalist and federalist, and Jefferson, the freethinker and Republican, also had sharp differences of opinion on the French Revolution. Jefferson supported the French Revolution, and Adams did not. Years later, Jefferson wrote Adams, acknowledging that Adams had been correct about the French Revolution, not Jefferson, in his opinions. As their friendship was renewed, an important correspondence developed between these two men. Both of these men, our second and third presidents, died on the same day. Not just any day, but July the 4th, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the birth of America. The occurrence of their deaths on the same day, our nation's 50th birthday, was so unique and unusual that all Americans saw this as a sign of God's divine approval and blessing on our country. Since I believe in God, it's not hard for me to agree. Thank you for sponsoring this debate.